This is the Farmington Feed, bringing you information from the city of Farmington.
Hi, and welcome back to the Farmington Feed. I'm Corinne Hodgnicki, the city's communications specialist, and I'm hungry for another episode of the Feed. Since it's October, we're talking about Halloween and the Havoc Tour. We're here with Emily Shearer, Recreation Supervisor, and Mr. Halloween himself, Mr. John Brimacombe. Welcome, Emily and John.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Hello.
Mr. Halloween.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Let's talk about how the tour works, how you get signed up, and all that jazz.
Yeah, so the tour originally started kind of with the influence of the Holiday Lights tour back in 2021. So that was the winter of 2021 before I even had my position. And then in the fall of 2022, we heard from residents that they were excited about the Holiday Lights tour and they were hoping to have a Halloween decoration tour as well. And so that was when I had already been started in this position. And so I've seen the start of the Holiday Havoc tour, and it's grown and become a whole other tour that we are enthused about. So what ultimately ends up happening is that we publish a graphic with all of the addresses throughout the city of Farmington that are signed up for this Halloween Havoc tour. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we also have Danny, who is our GIS specialist, create a map that can actually be shown, an actual map of where all the houses are located, because the graphic doesn't include a map. The graphic is just the list of addresses. We really enjoy, having all these houses sign up and are looking forward to another good year.
Yeah, and approximately how many houses are on the tour this year?
So there are 26 this year.
Oh, wow. That's way more than last year.
Yeah. So last year we had 16 houses. And so now we've increased it up to 10 more. So 26, which is definitely going to probably have to be a couple night tour because.
Yeah, I was going to say it took me like an hour and a half or 2 hours to do it to the 16 last year.
Yep. So I'm thinking, 2 to 3 night, depending on, if you want to hit up different neighborhoods or whatever that may be and look for you. It's kind of a choose your own adventure.
There you go. So how do you get the order of the houses, like on your list, I guess?
Danny creates in the GIS map, it will actually create the best flow, if you want to call it, of where the traffic and everything is and what sides of the streets. And from there, it's the north end of town. It will be house number 1, the furthest north. And then the furthest south end of town will be house number 26.
Okay.
Yeah, it just kind of travels around and it goes, obviously starts kind of near Pilot Knob and then eventually gets to Highway 3 and things of that nature. And so, yeah.
So you can follow that map and you don't have to worry about where you're going.
Exactly. And again, like I said, it is literally like a choose your own adventure where you don't have to start at the north end of town. If you wanted to start in the south end of town because that's where you live, that's totally fine. If you wanted to start in the middle, it's just a guide essentially.
Yeah, nice. Well, I definitely had fun doing it last year, and this is going to be even a bigger year. Last year was a big year for you, Mr. Halloween, when you collected your food donations and decorated your lawn. So tell me a little bit how you got started decorating and collecting those food donations for the community.
My wife and I, when we got married, didn't realize that we were both into Halloween decorating. She was not quite at the level that I was.
Oh.
I ended up getting befriended by lots of groups on internet, and they taught me how to make a few things and modify a few things. And then one day I asked my wife if it would be okay if I built a guillotine.
A guillotine.
And she looked at me like I was nuts. But I ended up building the guillotine, and then we moved on to bigger monsters. I had a 20-foot tall by 20-foot arm span swamp thing that was covered in black plastic. However, with the weather in Minnesota, that didn't last.
Yeah.
It got ripped apart, and that was probably in about 99 or 2000.
Okay.
Then when we moved down here into Farmington, my wife saw how much time and effort I would put into getting the display up and taking it down and everything, and she thought it would be a good idea to look for donations from the trick-or-treaters. So we made a little sign, and that year I think we had about 50 cans, which we were just overjoyed with. Thought the community really pulled together and got us our 50 cans. We put them on the table and took pictures of it. And I noticed that the weight of the cans was causing us sway back in our table. So we've decided not to do that from that point on. But yeah, when we got down here to Farmington, we asked the neighbors across the street how many candies would we be looking at. And they told us, 2 or 3 bags of candy will be fine.
It. Yeah.
And I looked at my wife and I looked back at them and I says, you better buy more.
Yeah, because if they're trick-or-treating at your house, they're just going to hit the rest of the neighborhood.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that first year, their lights went off in about 30 minutes because they ran out of food.
Out of candy. Mm-hmm.
Some of the other neighbors went down to the gas station and bought everything that was still available. They would come over to our house and they said, we had no idea. And I says, yeah, but it'll get bigger.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it'll be more next year.
Yeah, yep.
That's awesome. So how many people approximately do you think actually visit your house on Halloween?
On Halloween, it probably runs anywhere from 250. We've had over 500.
Wow.
But you have to realize that there's a number of different factors in it. Like the big thing for Minnesota is the weather.
Yeah, of course.
Other factors are what day of the week Halloween falls on.
Oh, true.
So yeah, it all depends on those. But this year we're probably, and it's another shot in the dark, but we're hoping to have between 250 and 350, being that it's a Thursday. So,
because Thursday's a better day.
Yes.
It's towards the weekend.
And
It's
that's
closer to the weekend.
Yeah, and when it's on the weekend, I always thought it would be better, like on a Saturday. But I think what happens is a lot of people have their own parties.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
So that we didn't actually have the bigger numbers. We actually have bigger numbers towards the end of the week. So
Okay.
there should be one of those good ones depending upon the weather.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
And so your food collection last year, how many pounds of food did you end up donating?
Yeah, last year it was kind of a special deal because we had a lot of media coverage. We had the first person that called me and said, would we be interested in doing a story, was from the Sun Week. She actually wrote up an article. And then I got a phone call from both Care 11 and Fox 9, and they came out and did video stories.
Oh, yeah. It started blowing up on the news.
And then I took a picture because I've got security cameras keeping an eye on everything. And I sent a picture over to my daughter who lives less than a mile away. And I says, I could use some help. And all she saw was cars everywhere. And that was the week of Halloween.
Was that, the week prior?
And that was after the news stories all came out. But yeah, it was just crazy. And it was a good crazy. But yeah, we had just unbelievable coverage. And then I got a phone call on Halloween, and Care 11 wanted to come out and do a follow-up story. And when they came out and did the follow-up story, they went actually down into the basement and saw how much food that I had there. And they said, before we release this follow-up story, we'd like to have you pull in with all the canned goods and unloading and stuff so that we can do a follow-up with the food shelf.
Oh, for sure.
So that was just spectacular. I just thought it was the perfect way to end this year. That I knew I was hoping to get 1,000 pounds. And when I went down to the basement after Halloween and I realized that it was way past 1,000 pounds, but they helped me. We ended up doing 4 carloads of canned goods and bags and things. And the total was 3,235 pounds.
Wow.
Plus we had $160 in monetary
Oh,
donations.
people donate money too.
So, yep.
Okay. That's really nice to know.
So yeah, it was spectacular.
So do you think it was even more than just the Farmington community coming out? Do you think
Oh yeah.
surrounding communities were also coming out?
I actually had people, because I would be out in the morning setting stuff up, and I had one guy, he's pulled up and he says, I'm from Bloomington, and normally I don't drive this far. But he said, I saw that story, and I had to bring you some stuff.
Yep. Welcome to
I
Farmington.
love it. That's awesome. So is your goal the same this year? Is it 1,000 pounds?
I always try to shoot for realistic numbers, and this year without the coverage and everything, but you guys could help with that,
Yeah, for sure.
with this podcast. So I'm still shooting for 1,000 pounds. I've actually got a pretty good start down in the basement right now, because I think I'm probably between 150 and 200 pounds of food down there already.
Oh, because you already started collecting.
Yep. I actually started collecting on October 1st, and that's what I usually try to do. And it all depends on, once again, the Minnesota weather. If the weather's not good, I don't get as much stuff out.
It has been very beautiful so far, so I will say that.
It doesn't really quite feel like Shocktober.
It does not.
With your display, do you have, or even the food donations, do you have help? How do you get it all done?
With the display itself, I basically set it all up. And I've had neighbors offer to help, and I really don't have a plan.
You
So
just
it
go.
makes
Go.
it makes it kind of difficult to have people wanting to help, and I appreciate the offers and everything.
sure.
But it just makes it easier if I know what cords are where, because I don't want them falling and tripping, because
Yep.
with all the display that I have, I've got so many cords and black guy wires for the displays that you can't see in the dark. It would just be a disaster, I think. But when I actually do the food collecting and stuff, I've got, on Halloween, my daughter comes over, and she's got two sons that one of them is now a junior at Farmington High School. And he found out just how much fun it was to scare people.
Okay.
I
So there's some
gave
scare
him-
factor there too.
Yes, I gave him the rules that you have to really listen to the people when they're coming to the door. If they're really scared, you don't really want to go after those people. But if they're the arrogant ones that say, oh, this isn't scary and stuff, they're marked. And as soon as they go up to the door, and we don't bother them going to the door, but when they turn around to come back, we could be right there, or we will get them someplace in the driveway. So yeah, it's kind of a fun thing. But if the parent is egging the kid on who is scared about going up there, I basically will help that little kid up to the front door so that nothing bothers them.
Yeah.
And then I'll turn around and go after that parent.
You'll get the parent. That's awesome.
I love that.
I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, do you have any new or special items that you're going to be putting out this year, or do you want to just tell people come and see?
It's always good for them to come and see, because it really is changing every year. Like this year when I was setting stuff up, I actually had 6 different props burn up. So
Oh, no.
they're done.
Yep.
And we have to modify, and I've got neighbors that see it every year, and they'll say, well, where's this one? And I'll say, well, that one is in the garbage.
Yeah.
It's gone.
It's no longer with us.
Yes, it's gone away. So yeah, it's funny, because as I set things up, the little kids will say, well, where's this display? And I haven't seen this one yet. And this year I'm trying to upgrade the lighting so that it's a little brighter, especially for the little trick-or-treaters, because you don't really want them scared. But it's always kind of fun to make the different kind of modifications on things. I try to get different sounds out there. So I have speakers and lights, and I actually build a facade for the front of the house that looks like a castle.
Cool.
So that my daughter, who hands out the candy to the trick-or-treaters, so I can run around and scare people.
Yep.
and keep the people honest when they're donating the food and things. But she actually sits inside of that, and with the facade up there, she's out of the wind and out of the
That's
rain
nice.
and things like that. So, and besides that, if she sees some kids that have really good costumes, she'll take pictures of them.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Or if they've got their dogs along, they'll hand out
Yes.
treats. And
Oh, and doggy costumes probably too, huh? They're
oh yes,
Yep.
yep. So, yeah, they basically. I mean, when I do the actual food donation, it's me because normally I donate to the food shelf during the day so that they can get extra help because they've gotten used to my donations being a little more than 40 cans.
Every November 1st.
So yeah, I'll basically have to pull all that canned goods up from the basement, load it into the car, and then drive. And then last year was a special year because I ended up having to do 4 different loads.
Oh yeah, with
instead
that
of
much.
one car.
Yep. With Care 11's van, right?
Yes. One year I actually had to stop and figure out, now let's see, what capacity does my car actually handle?
Yeah, right.
And one can, if I weigh that, it's about a pound. And how many cans? And that year, I think I had 4 layers of canned goods. So there were probably 1,600 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Just in that load. I kept looking at it thinking, my tires look like they're okay, but I'm getting lower to the ground.
You almost need like a heavy duty, pickup truck.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Yeah, so I feel your pain on that because I was actually a cooking manager for my Girl Scout, my daughter's troop, and like they tell you how many boxes can fit in your car and what size car. Like and you can tell when your car's loaded down with cookies, like how it drives way differently, as I'm sure your car does when you have all the food in there. So that's fantastic. We have this great opportunity for food donation and helping the community and a fun thing to do with your family. Grab a hot cocoa and jump in the car and go around town. Anything else that you guys want to mention, either about your house specifically or the tour, Emily?
So there was, and I believe John also has a similar issue with the blow-ups, but there was notes on when I collected the house registrations on SurveyMonkey, a couple different notes about how if it's really windy out or if it rains or, snows, I'm not going to say that word too loudly, but if particularly if it's really windy out, people are not going to have their houses, their decorations up to the par that we're kind of expecting.
For sure.
Just because it's hard to keep the inflatables up and it's hard to, we don't want anything getting ruined. So that is a thing to note, that if you notice it's a windy day, maybe go tomorrow or a couple days later.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, because I have that same problem. I've got a couple of things that are 12 feet tall. And any kind of a wind that goes above 10 miles an hour, they get affected. And I'd rather not lose $200 on the prop. And
for sure.
So I will admit, though, the Minnesota weather is so diverse that one year when we had 9 inches of snow during October, I had to shovel my entire yard, not the driveway, but the entire yard, because I had the props out there and I couldn't even tell where they were.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So yep, weather dependent for sure. I know. I noticed that when I did the tour, there were certain points where there wasn't things blown up because it was so windy, and that would ruin them.
Yep. And then the other thing is that we always make notes of who's collecting, food. For example, with Mr. Halloween John, he collects food, and there's a couple others that will collect food. And then we also make notes of who wants you to turn to a particular radio station, which is 91.9. There's a couple houses.
Even on the Halloween tour?
Yes, a couple houses on the Halloween tour that want you to tune in onto 91.9 FM. And then it's the same thing with the Holiday Lights tour. We have houses that go all out and set it up to Christmas music. And
that's fun.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, so was it Halloween music on that channel?
I actually haven't listened to it. I'm guessing it's maybe
Spooky.
Monster Mash.
Yeah,
and
maybe
Thriller. I don't know. I should actually turn it to 91.9 one day.
Let's see what tunes are on. I mean, you would think for the Halloween one it'd be spooky stuff.
Yep.
And so anything else, Mr. Halloween?
I just want to also say thank you to the people that have supported us through the years with the food donations. And thank you in advance to the people that are donating this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because the need is always great.
Yes.
And anytime that you have an opportunity to help others, it's wonderful, even if it is Halloween.
I remember reaching out to you, and we also had some other places where we like the Halloween walk where we get food donations.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
If you want to participate in the Halloween walk, and that's this year, October 25th. But so yeah, we try to collect as much food as possible so that 360's community, the Farmington food shelf is
It's fully stocked.
yeah, because they need it. They definitely do.
Yep.
All right, great. So we do want to remind listeners about the tour dates. So Monday, October 14th is the beginning of the tour.
That's when the list will be released. Yep.
Yep. And then it ends obviously on Halloween. So grab your family and some hot cocoa and take a ride or multiple rides through Farmington.
Yep.
The tour could take approximately 1.5 to 2 hours, but that was based on last year.
Yeah,
So
last
this
year
year
was 16 and we got 10 more.
yeah, so maybe longer or multiple nights. And then if it's windy, remember that some displays may not be active. To follow up this beautiful Halloween Havoc tour, there'll be a Holiday Lights tour, and that registration will open on Monday, October 21st, and a deadline of Monday, November 18th to register your house. Lights will be ready to view, and a list will be posted for that on Monday, December 2nd.
Correct.
So thank you guys so much for coming on.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
And you have one more thing,
Yes,
Mr.
I
Halloween?
have one more thing. I just want to let people know that my display is already active.
Oh, yeah.
And if they want to visit, my address is 18657 Euclid, EUCLID Path, and that's in Farmington, Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, that's very important information.
Yes.
Get out there and bring your donations to Mr. Halloween.
And last year, I remember he was kind of slightly towards the middle of the list. So I'm assuming you'll be probably still in the same position.
Yeah. Yep. So check out that list and go on your own Havoc tour.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes this month's episode of the Farmington Feed. Thank you for listening. We look forward to connecting with residents with this podcast. If you have any feedback, guest requests, or ideas, email me at communications@farmingtonmn.gov. Don't forget to subscribe to the Farmington Feed wherever you like to get your podcasts.